The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of a reality most people avoid. Every human life is temporary. This was not a gloomy obsession, but a tool of clarity. By keeping death in his awareness, he sharpened his attention toward what truly mattered. When a person understands that their days are numbered, trivial worries begin to lose their power, and every moment gains weight, meaning, and urgency. Human beings often live as though they possess endless tomorrows. Plans are postponed, dreams are delayed, and meaningful conversations are avoided because there is always an assumption that there will be another chance. This illusion of unlimited time creates a comfortable laziness in the soul. It allows people to waste mornings in hesitation, afternoons in distraction, and nights in regret, believing that life will patiently wait for them to become ready. Stoic philosophy shatters this illusion by presenting a truth that is both frightening and liberating. Time is slipping away continuously, and no one has the authority to pause or rewind it. When mortality becomes a conscious thought rather than a distant concept, priorities rearrange themselves naturally. Petty arguments start to feel childish. Social comparison loses its grip. The endless race for approval begins to look meaningless. Suddenly, the mind starts asking deeper questions. What am I doing with my limited existence? Am I creating something valuable, or am I merely consuming distractions? Am I building relationships that matter, or am I chasing people who would forget me in a week? The awareness of death acts like a spotlight in a dark room. It exposes the dust of procrastination, the clutter of meaningless habits, and the fragile nature of human plans. Many individuals spend years preparing for a perfect future that never arrives. They wait for financial stability before pursuing passion, for confidence before speaking truth, and for the right opportunity before taking bold steps. Yet life rarely announces its ending with a warning. It does not ask whether someone feels prepared. It simply concludes when its invisible clock reaches zero. Stoics did not meditate on death to create fear. They reflected on it to create urgency and gratitude. Knowing that every sunrise could potentially be their last made them greet the morning with seriousness and respect. Simple experiences gained extraordinary value. A conversation with a loved one, a quiet walk, a moment of learning, a chance to help another human being. What many people consider ordinary, a Stoic would consider a rare privilege because it might never repeat. This perspective transforms how one treats time. Instead of viewing hours as something to spend carelessly, they become a form of currency more precious than gold. Money lost can be earned again. Time lost disappears forever. Every moment invested in meaningless scrolling, gossip, or hesitation is a silent transaction where life is being exchanged for nothing of lasting worth. The Stoic mind constantly asks whether each activity justifies the price being paid in life itself. Awareness of mortality also strengthens courage. Fear of failure, embarrassment, or rejection begins to look insignificant when placed beside the certainty of death. What is the embarrassment of a failed attempt compared to a lifetime of regret for never trying? What is the discomfort of honest expression compared to the tragedy of leaving important words unsaid forever? Many people stay silent, passive, and inactive because they are trying to protect their comfort, forgetting that comfort will not protect them from the ultimate end that awaits all. When death is accepted as inevitable, life becomes less about survival and more about meaning. Instead of asking how to avoid pain at all costs, a person begins to ask how to live in a way that leaves no deep regrets. This shift encouraged bold decisions, sincere relationships, and disciplined action. It motivates people to create, to explore, to speak truthfully, and to pursue goals that resonate with their inner values rather than superficial expectations imposed by society. The Stoic view of mortality also humbles the ego. Titles, wealth, popularity, and physical beauty all fade into irrelevance when placed in the shadow of death. No matter how powerful or admired someone becomes, they share the same destiny as every other human being. This realization dissolves arrogance and encourages kindness. If everyone is walking toward the same unavoidable end, cruelty and pride begin to look irrational, while compassion and understanding appear wiser and more dignified. At the same time, remembering death increases appreciation for the present moment. People often postpone happiness, telling themselves they will relax, travel, or express love after achieving certain milestones. Yet milestones keep shifting, and satisfaction keeps being delayed. Stoicism teaches that the present moment is not a waiting room for life. It is life itself. The laughter shared today, the lessons learned today, the kindness offered today. These are not small events. They are the very substance of existence. The fear of death often arises from uncertainty, but Stoics approached it with acceptance rather than resistance. They believed that death is a natural process, just as birth is. Fighting against this reality only creates anxiety, while accepting it allows the mind to focus on what can still be shaped: actions, thoughts, and character. Instead of asking how long life will last, the Stoic asks how well it is being used right now. This mindset removes the illusion that life will eventually become meaningful on its own. Meaning is not something that appears automatically with age or success. It is crafted through intentional choices. Every decision to learn instead of waste time, to forgive instead of hold grudges, to act instead of procrastinate, adds substance to life. Mortality gives weight to these decisions, turning them from casual preferences into defining elements of one's existence. People who avoid thinking about death often drift through routines without questioning them. They wake up, repeat the same patterns, complain about the same problems, and postpone change indefinitely. The Stoic reminder of mortality interrupts this drift. It acts like a sudden awakening, forcing individuals to confront the uncomfortable question: if life ended sooner than expected, would the way I'm living today make sense? Such reflection can be unsettling, but it is also deeply empowering. It strips away illusions and replaces them with clarity. It pushes individuals to stop living according to automatic habits and start living according to deliberate values. It encourages them to repair broken relationships, to express gratitude while people are still present, to pursue meaningful work, and to cultivate inner strength instead of superficial image. Mortality also highlights the rarity of existence itself. Out of countless possibilities in the universe, a person has been given a limited span of consciousness, awareness, and opportunity. To waste this rare chance on endless distraction and trivial conflict begins to look like a tragic misuse of a precious gift. Stoic thinkers believe that recognizing this rarity should inspire a sense of responsibility toward one's own life. Not a heavy burden, but a noble obligation to make the most of the time that has been granted. The idea that life could end at any moment encourages sincerity. It removes the luxury of pretending, of hiding true feelings, of delaying honest communication. Apologies become more urgent, gratitude becomes more expressive, and love becomes more openly demonstrated. People who truly understand the fragility of life do not wait for special occasions to treat others with kindness or to express appreciation. They act in the present because the present is the only moment guaranteed to exist. By keeping death in mind, the Stoic does not become pessimistic. They become purposeful. They stop measuring life only by its length and start measuring it by its depth. A short life filled with courage, integrity, and meaningful action becomes far more admirable than a long life wasted in fear, laziness, and distraction. The awareness of mortality transforms time from an invisible background into a visible, finite resource that must be respected, protected, and invested wisely. There is a comforting illusion that many people carry quietly within them, the belief that someday, Somehow, someone will appear to fix what feels broken in their lives. This belief is subtle, often unspoken, yet it influences decisions, delays action, and nurtures passivity. The Stoic teachings of Marcus Aurelius dismantle this illusion with stark clarity. No external savior is coming. No perfect rescuer is waiting in the wings. And no miracle will arrive to reorganize a neglected life into something meaningful. From childhood, people are surrounded by stories in which heroes are saved at the last moment, rescued from danger, or guided by a wise figure who solves their problems. These narratives are comforting, but they quietly cultivate dependence. As adulthood arrives, many continue to live with the expectation that circumstances, luck, or other people will eventually align in their favor. They wait for the right opportunity, the right mentor, the right financial condition, or the right emotional state before they begin shaping their future. Stoic philosophy rejects this passive posture. It presents a reality that is both harsh and empowering. Responsibility for one's life rests entirely within one's own hands. This does not mean that external events are always controllable, nor does it deny the existence of unfairness or hardship. It simply emphasizes that the direction of one's life is determined not by what happens, but by how one chooses to respond. The idea that no one is coming to rescue you can initially feel cold, even unsettling. It strips away comforting fantasies and exposes a stark independence. Yet within this independence lies an extraordinary freedom. When a person stops waiting for external salvation, they stop surrendering their power. They begin to see themselves not as a victim of circumstances, but as an active participant in shaping their destiny. Waiting for rescue often disguises itself as patience, but in reality, it is frequently fear in a more acceptable form. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of discomfort encourage individuals to delay action while convincing themselves that they are simply waiting for the right time. Days turn into months, months into years, and opportunities quietly pass by while the individual remains stationary, convinced that movement will begin once conditions improve. Stoicism teaches that conditions rarely become perfect on their own. Life is inherently uncertain, unpredictable, and sometimes chaotic. Expecting a moment when every obstacle disappears is equivalent to expecting the sea to remain permanently calm. The Stoic approach is to learn to sail even when the waters are restless, to develop strength and skill instead of demanding ideal weather. The belief in self-responsibility transforms how challenges are perceived. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the Stoic asks, "What can I do with what is happening?" This shift in perspective removes helplessness and replaces it with agency. It encourages problem-solving, creativity, and resilience. Even in situations where external control is minimal, internal control over attitude, effort, and integrity remains available. Many people underestimate their own capacity for change because they have been conditioned to rely on external guidance. They seek constant validation before making decisions, constantly ask others for permission to pursue their aspirations, and hesitate to trust their own judgment. Stoicism promotes the cultivation of inner authority. It encourages individuals to become their own guide, to study their own character, and to refine their own principles until they can stand confidently without leaning on the approval of others. Self-responsibility also demands honesty. It requires acknowledging personal mistakes without immediately blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck. This level of honesty can feel uncomfortable because it exposes weaknesses and poor choices. Yet it is precisely this discomfort that creates the possibility of growth. When a person accepts that their current situation is at least partially shaped by their own actions, they gain the power to alter future outcomes through different choices. The refusal to accept responsibility keeps individuals trapped in cycles of repetition. If every failure is attributed solely to external forces, then there is no incentive to improve strategy, discipline, or mindset. Blame becomes a shield that protects the ego but suffocates progress. Stoicism removes this shield, not to humiliate, but to liberate. It suggests that acknowledging one's role in outcomes is the first step toward regaining control. Another consequence of expecting rescue is the erosion of initiative. When people believe someone else will eventually step in, they invest less effort in developing their own skills, knowledge, and emotional strength. They postpone learning essential life abilities, assuming they will never truly need them. Stoicism, on the other hand, encourages preparation and self-sufficiency. It praises individuals who cultivate resilience, wisdom, and discipline so that they can stand firm even when support is absent. This philosophy does not deny the value of community, friendship, or cooperation. Stoics recognize the importance of social bonds and mutual assistance. However, they distinguish between healthy interdependence and unhealthy reliance. Healthy interdependence involves collaboration between individuals who are already responsible for their own lives. Unhealthy reliance occurs when a person expects others to carry the weight of decisions, consequences, and emotional stability on their behalf. The realization that no one is coming to save you also sharpens one's perception of time. Waiting for external change often involves long periods of inactivity, during which life continues to move forward. Years can disappear while someone waits for courage to arrive, for motivation to appear, or for circumstances to become favorable. Stoicism reminds individuals that time is not paused during this waiting. The clock continues to advance, regardless of whether one is prepared or hesitant. This awareness can ignite a sense of urgency that pushes people into action. Instead of postponing personal development, they begin learning immediately. Instead of delaying difficult conversations, they initiate them. Instead of waiting for confidence, they act in its absence, understanding that confidence is often the result of action rather than its prerequisite. Taking responsibility for one's life also cultivates dignity. There is a quiet strength in knowing that one's progress is the result of personal effort rather than accidental fortune or constant rescue. Achievements gained through self-discipline and perseverance carry a deeper sense of fulfillment because they are rooted in genuine growth. This dignity reinforces self-respect, which in turn strengthens the motivation to continue improving. The Stoic emphasis on self-responsibility also prepares individuals for inevitable moments of isolation. Life includes phases where support systems weaken, where guidance is unavailable, and where decisions must be made without reassurance. Those who have always depended on rescue often feel lost and overwhelmed during such moments. In contrast, those who have cultivated independence possess the inner stability to navigate uncertainty without collapsing into panic. This philosophy encourages individuals to view themselves as the primary architect of their lives. Just as an architect cannot blame the blueprint for a poorly designed building, a person cannot continually blame external factors for a life constructed without intention. Stoicism invites people to examine their habits, beliefs, and daily actions as if they were examining the foundation of a structure they must inhabit for the rest of their existence. Accepting that no one is coming to save you does not create loneliness. It creates empowerment. It removes the illusion of helplessness and replaces it with the realization that every decision, no matter how small, contributes to the direction of one's life. Each choice to learn, to work, to forgive, to persist, and to act with integrity becomes a deliberate step rather than a reaction to external pressure. This mindset encouraged people to stop searching endlessly for perfect mentors, flawless systems, or miraculous opportunities. Instead, they begin to use what is already available: their current knowledge, their present environment, and their existing resources to initiate progress. They recognize that waiting for ideal conditions often means wasting the only conditions that are guaranteed, the present moment, and their own ability to act within it. Comfort has a seductive voice. It speaks in gentle tones, promising safety, ease, and the absence of struggle. It encourages people to remain where they are, to repeat familiar routines, and to avoid situations that might cause uncertainty or discomfort. At first glance, comfort appears harmless, even desirable. Yet beneath its soft surface lies a quiet danger. It gradually erodes ambition, dulls curiosity, and weakens the courage required to pursue meaningful growth. The Stoic perspective, echoed in the reflections of Marcus Aurelius, views comfort not as an enemy, but as something that must be handled with caution. Excessive comfort creates an invisible cage. Unlike a physical prison, it has no bars or locks, which makes it even more dangerous. A person living within it rarely feels trapped because the environment is pleasant. The food is sufficient, the routine is predictable, and the risks are minimal. Yet inside this pleasant enclosure, potential slowly suffocates. Human beings are naturally inclined to seek ease. The mind prefers familiar patterns because they require less energy and less uncertainty. Repeating known behaviors feels efficient and secure. Over time, this preference for familiarity transforms into a habit of avoidance. New opportunities are evaluated not by their potential benefits, but by the discomfort they might introduce. If an action seems stressful, risky, or demanding, it is quietly dismissed in favor of something safer and more predictable. This pattern gradually narrows the boundaries of life. A person who once had wide possibilities begins to operate within a shrinking circle of routines. Days become nearly identical. Conversations become repetitive. Ambitions become smaller because larger ambitions demand greater risk and effort. Comfort, in this way, does not abruptly destroy dreams. It slowly convinces individuals to lower their expectations until their dreams fit neatly inside their comfort zone. The tragedy of this process is that it often goes unnoticed. Because nothing feels immediately wrong, there is no strong motivation to change. Bills are paid, responsibilities are met at a basic level, and life appears stable from the outside. Yet beneath this surface stability, a quiet dissatisfaction begins to grow. People sense that they are capable of more, that there is unexplored potential within them. But the fear of leaving their comfort zone prevents them from testing this intuition. Stoicism teaches that growth is almost always accompanied by discomfort. Learning a new skill involves making mistakes. Speaking honestly can lead to conflict. Pursuing a meaningful goal requires sacrifice and uncertainty. These experiences are not signs that something is going wrong. They are evidence that development is taking place. The Stoic mindset reframes discomfort as a form of training rather than a threat. When individuals deliberately step outside their comfort zones, they expose themselves to challenges that reveal hidden strengths. Situations that initially feel overwhelming begin to build resilience, adaptability, and confidence. Each time a person survives a difficult experience, their perception of what they can handle expands. The boundaries of their comfort zone stretch, making previously intimidating situations feel manageable. Remaining in constant comfort prevents this expansion. Without exposure to difficulty, emotional and psychological muscles remain weak. Just as a body that never exercises becomes fragile, a mind that never faces challenges becomes easily shaken by even minor stress. Small inconveniences start to feel unbearable because the individual has not developed a tolerance that comes from confronting larger difficulties. Comfort also numbs the sense of urgency. When life feels easy and predictable, there is low pressure to act decisively or to pursue long-term goals. People postpone important actions because there is no immediate crisis forcing them to move. They tell themselves that they will start tomorrow, next week, or next year. Meanwhile, time continues to pass and opportunities quietly expire. The Stoic awareness of life's brevity makes excessive comfort appear even more dangerous. If time is limited, then spending years in a state of stagnation becomes a profound loss. Every year spent avoiding growth is a year in which talents remain undeveloped, ideas remain unrealized, and experiences remain unlived. Comfort, in this sense, does not merely provide ease. It quietly steals the richness that life could have offered. Another subtle danger of comfort is that it encourages dependency on external stability. People become accustomed to certain conditions, steady income, predictable routines, familiar environments, and build their sense of security entirely upon them. When unexpected change occurs, as it inevitably does, those who have never practiced adapting to discomfort often feel overwhelmed. Their emotional stability collapses because it was built on circumstances rather than inner strength. Stoicism encourages individuals to voluntarily practice discomfort in controlled ways. This does not mean seeking suffering for its own sake, but rather exposing oneself to manageable challenges that build resilience. Choosing to wake up early, to engage in demanding physical exercise to learn difficult subjects, or to have uncomfortable but necessary conversations are all forms of deliberate practice. These actions train the mind to remain steady even when life becomes unpredictable. Comfort can also distort self-perception. When people remain in environments where they are rarely challenged, they may develop an inflated sense of competence. They feel confident because they have mastered the limited tasks within their routine, but this confidence is fragile because it has never been tested in unfamiliar situations. The first encounter with real difficulty can shatter this illusion, leading to self-doubt and anxiety. Stepping beyond comfort exposes individuals to diverse experiences and perspectives. It forces them to interact with people who think differently, to navigate unfamiliar systems, and to solve problems they have never faced before. These encounters enrich understanding and sharpen intelligence. They transform theoretical knowledge into practical wisdom because lessons learned through direct experience carry a deeper impact than those learned through passive observation. The comfort zone also influences relationships. People often remain in social circles that feel familiar and non-threatening, even if those environments limit their growth. They avoid connecting with individuals who challenge their ideas or push them toward higher standards. Over time, this leads to echo chambers where mediocrity feels normal, because everyone within the circle shares similar limitations and fears. Stoic philosophy values truth and improvement over temporary ease. It encourages seeking companions who inspire discipline, courage, and intellectual growth, even if such relationships occasionally feel uncomfortable. Honest feedback, constructive criticism, and exposure to higher expectations can initially feel unsettling, but they serve as catalysts for personal development. There is also a psychological cost to living entirely within comfort. Deep within, many people are aware that they are avoiding challenges. This awareness creates a subtle form of guilt or restlessness. They sense that they are not fully using their abilities, and this realization prevents them from feeling genuine pride in their lives. Their comfort becomes tinged with a quiet dissatisfaction that no amount of entertainment or distraction can fully silence. Breaking free from this invisible prison requires intentional courage. The first step is often the hardest because it involves confronting fear directly rather than avoiding it. The mind generates countless reasons to remain where it is: the risk of failure, the possibility of embarrassment, the uncertainty of outcomes. Stoicism teaches that these fears should be examined rationally rather than obeyed automatically. Most of the dangers imagined by the mind are exaggerated, while the cost of inaction is rarely considered with equal seriousness. As individuals repeatedly choose growth over comfort, their relationship with discomfort begins to change. What once felt threatening starts to feel stimulating. Challenges transform from obstacles into opportunities, to test and refine character. The individual begins to associate effort with progress and uncertainty with possibility rather than with danger. This shift creates a profound sense of aliveness. Life outside the comfort zone is rarely dull. It is filled with new skills, new relationships, new environments, and new insights. Each experience adds texture and depth to existence. Instead of living in a narrow, predictable loop, the individual participates in a dynamic journey where each year feels distinct and meaningful because it is filled with evolution rather than repetition. A vast number of human decisions are quietly controlled by an invisible audience that exists mostly in imagination. People hesitate to speak, delay pursuing ambitions, and censor their true personalities because they believe they are constantly being judged, evaluated, and remembered by others. This fear of judgment feels intensely real, yet the Stoic reflections of Marcus Aurelius remind us of a simple, disarming truth. Most people are far too occupied with their own concerns to spend significant time analyzing yours. Every individual lives at the center of their own mental universe. Their thoughts revolve around their insecurities, their plans, their fears, and their personal struggles. Just as you spend much of your day thinking about your own challenges, others are equally absorbed in their own internal narratives. The idea that strangers, colleagues, or even acquaintances are constantly scrutinizing your actions is often a projection of your own self-consciousness rather than an accurate reflection of reality. This illusion of constant observation begins early in life. Children are corrected, evaluated, and compared within schools and families, which creates a heightened awareness of how they appear to others. As they grow, this awareness can evolve into anxiety. A simple mistake in public, an awkward sentence, or a failed attempt at something new can feel catastrophic because the mind imagines a crowd of observers forming permanent negative opinions. In truth, most observers notice briefly, form a fleeting impression, and then return their attention to their own lives. Social environments reinforce this illusion because people occasionally gossip, criticize, or laugh at others. These moments feel magnified in memory, creating the belief that judgment is constant and relentless. Yet, if one examines personal habits honestly, it becomes clear that even when you notice someone else's mistake, your attention rarely stays on it for long. Within minutes or hours, your focus returns to your own responsibilities, concerns, and desires. The same pattern applies to everyone else. Stoicism encourages individuals to examine their fears through the lens of reason. When you fear that others are judging you harshly, it is useful to ask, how often do you spend hours thinking about the small mistakes of others? How many embarrassing moments from other people's lives do you vividly remember months or years later? The honest answer is usually very few. Most events that feel humiliating in the moment dissolve quickly in the memories of observers because they were never as important to them as they felt to you. The fear of judgment acts as a powerful barrier to authenticity. People modify their speech, their clothing, their interests, and even their dreams to align with what they believe will be socially accepted. They suppress unconventional ideas, avoid creative risks, and abandon unique passions because they fear being labeled strange, naive, or unsuccessful. In doing so, they trade genuine self-expression for temporary social comfort, often without realizing that the audience they fear is barely paying attention. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how quickly public opinion changes and how little control one has over it. A person praised today may be forgotten tomorrow. A person criticized today may be admired in the future. Public judgment is inconsistent, emotional, and frequently uninformed. Basing one's life decisions on such unstable foundations leads to constant anxiety because approval can never be guaranteed or permanently secured. When individuals internalize the Stoic understanding that others are not constantly focused on them, a remarkable sense of freedom emerges. Actions that once felt terrifying, speaking in a meeting, sharing creative work, expressing an unpopular opinion, begin to feel manageable. The imagined spotlight dims, revealing that most situations are far less dramatic than the mind predicted. Instead of picturing a hostile crowd, one begins to see ordinary people with their own insecurities and distractions. The fear of judgment also magnifies minor social mistakes into events that feel catastrophic. A mispronounced word, a moment of awkward silence, or a small error in performance can replay endlessly in one's own mind. Meanwhile, the people who witness the moment often forget it entirely within a short time. This imbalance between personal memory and public memory causes individuals to carry emotional burdens that no one else is even aware of. Understanding this imbalance encourages self-compassion. It becomes easier to forgive one's own imperfections when it is clear that they are not being permanently recorded in the minds of others. Human interaction is filled with small mistakes and awkward moments for everyone. Recognizing this shared imperfection reduces the pressure to appear flawless and allows people to participate in life more naturally and confidently. Social media has intensified the illusion of constant judgment by creating environments where people publicly display curated versions of their lives. Seeing others receive likes, comments, and praise can make it seem as though everyone is constantly evaluating and comparing. Yet even within these digital spaces, attention is fleeting. A post that seems important today is buried beneath newer content within hours or days. The cycle of attention is rapid and shallow, reinforcing the Stoic idea that public focus is temporary and unreliable. When people stop overestimating how much others think about them, they regain the courage to experiment and grow. They become more willing to try new activities, to pursue unconventional paths, and to voice ideas that may not align with majority opinion. This willingness is essential for personal development because growth often requires stepping into unfamiliar territory, where mistakes are inevitable. The fear of judgment also discourages honesty in relationships. Individuals may hide their true feelings, avoid difficult conversations, or pretend to agree with opinions they secretly reject. This behavior creates shallow connections based on performance rather than authenticity. Stoicism encourages speaking truthfully and acting according to reason rather than shaping behavior solely to avoid disapproval. Genuine relationships are built on sincerity, and sincerity becomes possible only when fear of judgment loses its dominance. Another consequence of overestimating others' attention is chronic self-consciousness. Constantly monitoring how one appears from the outside divides mental energy. Instead of being fully present in conversations, tasks, or experiences, a portion of the mind remains occupied with self-evaluation. This reduces concentration, creativity, and enjoyment because attention is split between action and self-surveillance. Letting go of the imagined audience allows the mind to focus entirely on the activity at hand, improving performance and deepening engagement. Stoic thinkers recognize that reputation is fragile and often beyond one's control. People form opinions based on limited information, personal biases, and momentary emotions. Trying to manage every possible opinion is an impossible task that leads to exhaustion. Instead, Stoicism advises focusing on what can be controlled: one's own intentions, efforts, and moral character. If actions are guided by reason and integrity, the shifting opinions of others lose their power to disturb inner peace. This perspective also reduces envy and comparison. When individuals assume that everyone is watching and judging, they may feel pressured to compete constantly for status and approval. They measure their worth by external reactions rather than internal standards. Realizing that most people are not closely tracking their progress removes this artificial competition and allows individuals to pursue goals that genuinely matter to them rather than those that simply look impressive to observers. Freedom from the fear of judgment does not lead to reckless behavior or disregard for social norms. Instead, it creates balanced confidence. Individuals still consider the impact of their actions on others, but they no longer allow imaginary criticism to paralyze them. They act thoughtfully, guided by principles rather than by the fluctuating moods of an unseen audience. Over time, living without the burden of constant self-consciousness creates a more relaxed and authentic presence. Speech becomes more natural, laughter becomes more genuine, and decisions become more aligned with personal values. The energy that was once spent worrying about appearances becomes available for learning, creating, connecting, and contributing meaningfully to the world. The human mind is the most powerful instrument a person possesses, yet it is also the most unpredictable. It has the capacity to create visions, solve complex problems, generate beauty, and endure unimaginable hardship. At the same time, it can fabricate fears, distort reality, magnify pain, and imprison its owner within cycles of anxiety and doubt. The Stoic reflections of Marcus Aurelius repeatedly emphasize that mastering the mind is not a luxury but a necessity, because an untrained mind does not remain neutral, it quietly assumes control. Every individual carries within them a continuous stream of thoughts. Some of these thoughts are rational and constructive, while others are impulsive, fearful, or exaggerated. Many people live their entire lives without examining this inner dialogue, accepting every thought as truth simply because it appears in their consciousness. This habit allows the mind to dictate emotions, decisions, and perceptions without being questioned or guided. When the mind operates without discipline, it tends to drift toward negativity and fear. It anticipates worst-case scenarios, replays past embarrassments, and invents problems that have not yet occurred. These mental patterns are not intentional acts of sabotage. They are often the result of ancient survival instincts that once helped humans detect danger. In the modern world, however, these instincts frequently create unnecessary suffering by interpreting harmless situations as threats. A person whose mind is uncontrolled becomes highly reactive. External events, no matter how small, can trigger intense emotional responses. A critical comment might ruin an entire day. A minor inconvenience might lead to disproportionate anger. A single failure might be interpreted as proof of lifelong inadequacy. The mind, left unchecked, transforms momentary experiences into sweeping conclusions about identity and future prospects. Stoicism teaches that while external events are often beyond control, the interpretation of those events lies within personal authority. The same situation can be perceived in multiple ways, and it is the chosen interpretation that shapes emotional response. When a challenge is viewed as a catastrophe, it produces despair and paralysis. When the same challenge is viewed as a test or an opportunity to learn, it produces determination and curiosity. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending that painful experiences are pleasant. Instead, it involves creating a small but crucial space between stimulus and response. In that space, the individual can examine the initial thought, question its accuracy, and decide whether it deserves to influence behavior. This process transforms the mind from an impulsive master into a tool that can be directed and refined. Without this deliberate examination, thoughts operate like commands issued by an unseen authority. A thought such as, "I am not good enough," may arise automatically after a mistake. If accepted without scrutiny, it shapes self-perception, reduces confidence, and discourages future effort. If examined critically, the same thought can be recognized as an emotional reaction rather than an objective truth. This recognition weakens its power and allows more balanced reasoning to emerge. The untrained mind also tends to exaggerate problems. A small setback is mentally expanded into a sign of inevitable failure. A brief period of loneliness is interpreted as permanent isolation. This exaggeration is not based on evidence, but on the mind's habit of seeking patterns and predicting outcomes based on limited information. Stoic practice encourages individuals to compare their thoughts against observable reality rather than against imagined futures. Mental discipline requires regular practice, much like physical fitness. Just as muscles weaken without exercise, clarity of thought diminishes when the mind is allowed to wander without guidance. Techniques such as reflection, journaling, and deliberate questioning of one's own assumptions help strengthen this discipline. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote private reflections not for an audience, but as a way to correct his own thinking and maintain philosophical alignment. The mind also has a tendency to dwell on the past, replaying mistakes, regrets, and missed opportunities. This habit creates a continuous loop of self-criticism that cannot change what has already occurred. Stoicism recognizes that the past is fixed and unchangeable, yet the mind often behaves as though repeatedly analyzing it will somehow alter the outcome. Training the mind involves redirecting attention from unproductive rumination toward present actions that can still influence the future. Similarly, the mind often wanders into the future, imagining disasters, rejection, and loss. While planning is necessary, excessive worry about hypothetical scenarios drains emotional energy and distracts from current responsibilities. The Stoic approach is to prepare rationally for likely challenges while refusing to mentally suffer for events that have not yet happened. This balance allows for readiness without unnecessary anxiety. A disciplined mind also develops resilience against external opinions. Without mental control, praise can create arrogance and criticism can create despair. The individual becomes dependent on others' reactions to determine self-worth. Stoicism teaches that inner stability should not fluctuate with public approval or disapproval. By evaluating oneself based on personal principles and effort, rather than on shifting external feedback, the mind maintains steadiness. The relationship between thoughts and emotions is deeply interconnected. Thoughts generate emotional responses, and emotions in turn influence subsequent thoughts, creating cycles that can either uplift or destroy. A negative thought can produce anxiety, which then fuels more negative thoughts, strengthening the cycle. Breaking this pattern requires conscious interruption, recognizing the initial thought, questioning its validity, and replacing it with a more balanced perspective. Mental mastery does not imply constant positivity or the elimination of all negative thoughts. It involves awareness and choice. Negative thoughts may still arise, but they are no longer automatically believed or obeyed. They are treated as suggestions rather than commands. This shift in attitude significantly reduces their power to dictate mood and behavior. The mind also shapes perception of self. Labels such as "I am a failure," "I am unlucky," or "I am incapable" often originate from repeated negative thoughts that were never challenged. Over time, these labels become internalized identities. Stoicism encourages separating actions from identity. A failed attempt does not define a person as a failure. It defines only a single outcome within a vast range of possibilities. An undisciplined mind often seeks immediate comfort, avoiding tasks that require effort or patience. It gravitates toward distractions, entertainment, and habits that provide quick pleasure but little long-term value. When the mind holds authority, it tends to prioritize short-term relief over long-term fulfillment. Training the mind involves strengthening the ability to tolerate temporary discomfort in pursuit of meaningful goals. Attention is another resource governed by the mind. Wherever attention is directed, emotional energy follows. If attention is constantly directed toward problems, injustices, and perceived inadequacies, life begins to feel overwhelmingly negative. If attention is directed toward learning, progress, and constructive action, the emotional landscape becomes more hopeful and motivated. Controlling attention is therefore one of the most powerful forms of mental discipline. Stoicism views the mind as both a guardian and a potential tyrant. When guided by reason, it protects against impulsive decisions, destructive emotions, and external manipulation. When left untrained, it can distort reality, create suffering from imagination, and sabotage personal goals. The same mental faculty that allows humans to achieve greatness can also trap them in cycles of fear and self-doubt, if not deliberately cultivated. Through consistent practice, individuals can learn to observe their thoughts as passing mental events rather than as absolute truths. This observational stance creates psychological distance, reducing the intensity of emotional reactions and enabling more thoughtful responses. The mind becomes less like a storm that carries the individual helplessly and more like a river that can be navigated with awareness and skill. Life is inherently unpredictable. Every individual, regardless of status, wealth, or wisdom, encounters storms that cannot be anticipated or controlled. Illness appears unexpectedly, relationships falter, ambitions face obstacles, and plans collapse despite meticulous preparation. For many, these events trigger frustration, anger, or despair because they expect life to unfold according to personal preferences. The Stoic philosophy of Marcus Aurelius emphasizes a profound liberating principle. While external events are largely beyond one's control, the response to these events is entirely within one's power. Human beings have a natural desire to dominate circumstances, to arrange the world to fit personal expectations, and to avoid discomfort. This desire often creates tension because life does not conform to human wishes. The traffic jam that delays an important meeting, the colleague who undermines a project, or the unexpected financial setback can feel like direct assaults on personal dignity or intelligence. Yet the core of Stoicism teaches that these external disruptions are neither good nor bad inherently. Their impact depends entirely on how the individual chooses to respond. Many people expend enormous energy attempting to control what cannot be controlled. They obsess over other people's behaviors, fixate on potential future events, and ruminate on past misfortunes. This obsessive control is ultimately futile because external factors operate under their own rules, independent of personal preference. Stoicism encourages redirecting this energy inward, toward aspects of life where agency truly exists: thoughts, actions, attitudes, and decisions. The difference between reacting unconsciously and responding consciously is transformative. Reaction is instinctive and often emotionally driven. A sudden insult might provoke anger that escalates conflict unnecessarily. An unexpected failure might trigger self-doubt and resignation. Response, on the other hand, is deliberate and reasoned. It involves pausing, assessing the situation, and choosing an action that aligns with values, principles, and long-term objectives. The Stoic recognizes that the event itself has limited power. The true determinant of experience is internal. Life's challenges are often unavoidable. A harsh comment from a superior, a missed opportunity, or an unforeseen personal loss cannot always be prevented. Stoicism teaches that resisting reality leads to suffering, but embracing one's capacity to respond constructively transforms adversity into opportunity. Each challenge becomes a test of character, a chance to practice patience, courage, and wisdom. By focusing on the response rather than the event, individuals regain a sense of control, even amidst chaos. External events are, by nature, temporary and often trivial in the grand scheme. A financial setback may feel catastrophic in the moment, yet it does not define the entirety of a life. A social insult may sting, yet it rarely leaves lasting significance. The Stoic perspective encourages seeing events within the larger context of life's impermanence and the inevitability of change. Perspective allows one to measure importance accurately, preventing minor disturbances from dictating emotional equilibrium. The principle of controlling one's response also cultivates resilience. By recognizing that reactions are voluntary, individuals gain the ability to withstand repeated challenges without succumbing to despair. Each decision to respond thoughtfully reinforces inner stability and strengthens emotional endurance. Over time, resilience becomes a habitual mode of operation, reducing the intensity of suffering and enhancing clarity of judgment. Many people mistake external success for internal stability. They believe that favorable conditions, recognition, or comfort will secure peace of mind. Stoicism reveals the fallacy of this assumption. Conditions are transient, but internal mastery endures. One may achieve professional success, yet experience profound dissatisfaction if the mind remains uncontrolled and reactive. Conversely, a person may face relentless external adversity and yet maintain tranquility by responding wisely and deliberately. The Stoic approach does not involve passivity or resignation. It does not advocate ignoring problems or pretending they do not exist. Rather, it emphasizes prioritization and discernment. Individuals focus on what is actionable decisions, behaviors, and perspectives, while accepting what lies beyond influence. This balance allows energy to be spent productively rather than dissipated in frustration or futile attempts to dictate the uncontrollable. Developing the ability to respond effectively requires continuous self-awareness. The mind must be trained to recognize initial emotional impulses and distinguish them from rational choices. A wave of anger, anxiety, or fear is not a command. It is a signal that requires observation. By examining these impulses, individuals can decide whether acting on them aligns with long-term goals and ethical principles. This introspection transforms emotional energy from a disruptive force into a tool for strategic action. Reframing challenges as opportunities for growth is a key aspect of controlling responses. Difficult circumstances reveal hidden strengths, prompt creativity, and foster discipline. Each obstacle becomes a lesson in patience, perseverance, and adaptability. Instead of viewing setbacks as punishments, they are reframed as instruments for character development. This perspective not only reduces suffering, but also converts adversity into a source of empowerment. Stoic mastery of response also enhances relationships. People naturally react to criticism, misunderstandings, and conflicts with defensiveness, anger, or withdrawal. These instinctive reactions often escalate tension and damage connections. By cultivating conscious responses, individuals navigate social interactions with composure, empathy, and clarity. A measured reaction fosters respect, improves communication, and transforms potential conflict into constructive dialogue. Control over one's responses also strengthens decision-making. When the mind is dominated by external disturbances, choices are often rushed, impulsive, or biased by emotion. By creating a deliberate pause and evaluating options through reasoned judgment, decisions become more aligned with personal values and objectives. This disciplined approach enhances consistency, reliability, and long-term effectiveness in both personal and professional arenas. The realization that responses are voluntary empowers individuals to reclaim autonomy in situations that feel overwhelming. No matter how extreme the external circumstance, the Stoic recognizes the irreducible freedom of choice within their own mind. A lost opportunity, a public insult, or a natural disaster cannot take away the ability to decide how to think, feel, and act. This freedom is the ultimate safeguard against despair, providing an unshakable foundation of agency. Over time, practicing control over responses cultivates serenity. Emotional turbulence diminishes because the mind no longer amplifies external disturbances. Life is experienced with greater clarity and equanimity. Joy, satisfaction, and contentment are no longer dependent on favorable conditions, but arise from the consistent application of reason and virtue in navigating circumstances. The mind becomes an anchor, steady amidst the fluctuations of external events. The Stoic approach also transforms perception of risk and failure. External setbacks are no longer feared for their own sake. They are measured by their potential for learning and growth. Each failure becomes an opportunity to refine strategies, correct errors, and strengthen resilience. By decoupling outcomes from emotional stability, individuals can act boldly without being paralyzed by fear of consequences, cultivating a life of initiative and purposeful engagement. Understanding that responses shape experience fosters a deep sense of responsibility. Blaming others, circumstances, or luck for unhappiness is recognized as both inaccurate and disempowering. True power resides in choosing how to perceive, interpret, and respond to events. This mindset replaces victimhood with agency, despair with composure, and reaction with deliberate action. Every moment becomes an opportunity to exercise control over the inner world, independent of the uncontrollable external realm. The cultivation of mindful response also enhances long-term vision. Individuals are less swayed by immediate discomfort, fleeting criticism, or transient setbacks. Decisions are made with an eye toward lasting outcomes, informed by reason rather than emotional turbulence. The ability to maintain focus on principles and goals amidst external chaos differentiates fleeting achievement from sustainable fulfillment, highlighting the enduring value of inner mastery over external control. In the modern world, chains are no longer forged from iron or steel. They are subtle, seductive, and invisible. People are not enslaved by physical restraint, but by distraction, entertainment, and incessant stimulation. These invisible chains rob individuals of focus, vitality, and purpose. Stoic philosophy, exemplified by the reflections of Marcus Aurelius, warns that while external hardships are unavoidable, the voluntary surrender of attention to trivialities is a form of self-imposed imprisonment, more pervasive than any physical obstacle. Distraction has evolved into an art form. Every day, individuals are assaulted by notifications, advertisements, endless social media feeds, and an infinite array of entertainment designed to capture attention and prolong engagement. These digital sirens promise amusement, relaxation, or connection, yet the cost is subtle and profound. Every moment spent in passive absorption is a moment diverted from purposeful action. Over time, this habitual surrender of focus accumulates, producing lives that are comfortable, distracted, and quietly unfulfilled. The danger of these distractions lies in their invisibility. Unlike a tangible barrier, they feel harmless, even beneficial. Watching a brief video, scrolling through posts, or checking messages is often justified as rest, learning, or social engagement. Yet these small acts, when multiplied across hours, days, and years, constitute a slow erosion of time. Individuals rarely notice the cost until they confront the stark reality of unaccomplished goals, lost opportunities, and untapped potential. The human mind craves novelty and stimulation. Ancient survival mechanisms evolved to alert humans to potential threats and opportunities in the environment. Modern technology hijacks this instinct, delivering constant novelty and instant gratification without requiring effort, reflection, or meaningful engagement. The mind becomes conditioned to chase the next notification, the next image, the next sensation, creating cycles of dependency that leave deep cognitive and emotional traces. Stoicism emphasizes deliberate engagement over reactive absorption. Life is finite, and time is the most valuable currency. Each moment consumed by distraction is a transaction that cannot be reversed. Unlike money, which can be regained through effort or investment, time, once spent, is irrevocable. Every hour surrendered to superficial engagement diminishes the resources available for growth, reflection, and action, slowly shaping a life defined more by consumption than creation. The consequences of habitual distraction extend beyond unproductivity. They erode depth of thought, weaken memory, and diminish emotional resilience. Constant stimulation trains the brain to expect instant gratification, making sustained focus uncomfortable. Tasks that require patience, effort, and concentration begin to feel arduous, leading to avoidance and procrastination. Creative thinking, strategic planning, and intellectual growth falter when the mind is continuously fragmented by trivial engagement. Distraction also dilutes personal identity. When attention is surrendered to external stimuli, individuals gradually lose touch with their own values, aspirations, and internal compass. Days filled with passive absorption replace intentional practice and self-directed learning. People may feel busy, entertained, or socially connected, yet beneath the surface lies an unacknowledged void of sense. That time is slipping without producing meaningful accomplishments or progress. The modern economy of attention exploits this vulnerability. Algorithms are designed to capture and hold gaze, to provoke emotional responses, and to maximize engagement. Every like, notification, and recommendation is engineered to pull the mind into loops of consumption. Stoicism challenges this manipulation by insisting that mastery over one's attention is an ethical and practical obligation. Freedom is not merely the absence of physical constraint. It is the deliberate control of mental focus and choice of engagement. The danger is amplified by the illusion of multitasking. Many believe that simultaneously scrolling, messaging, and working is efficient. Yet cognitive science demonstrates that true focus is singular and sequential. Switching attention between tasks reduces quality, increases errors, and consumes more energy than concentrated effort. Stoic practice encourages full presence in each task, emphasizing depth and integrity over superficial activity. A life lived in fragmented attention is fragmented in experience, lacking coherence, meaning, and continuity. Distractions also manipulate emotion. Sensational news, dramatic content, or curated social media narratives provoke anxiety, envy, or fear. Individuals are conditioned to react instinctively, allowing external narratives to dictate mood and perception. This surrender of emotional agency erodes equanimity, undermining the Stoic ideal of cultivating a mind guided by reason rather than impulse. Freedom of thought requires the conscious choice of what to observe, engage with, and internalize. Deliberate action is therefore central to reclaiming control. Stoicism teaches that the mind must be trained to recognize the seductive pull of distraction and to resist it consciously. Reflection, journaling, meditation, and deliberate scheduling of attention act as tools to reinforce autonomy. These practices cultivate awareness of time spent, the value of engagement, and the alignment of activities with personal goals and principles. Attention, once reclaimed, becomes a fertile ground for growth. Deep focus enables mastery of skills, intellectual insight, and creative production. Engaged presence in relationships strengthens connection, empathy, and understanding. Reflection and contemplation produce clarity of purpose and sharpen moral reasoning. Unlike passive consumption, these activities expand capability, meaning, and fulfillment, illustrating the stark contrast between lives surrendered to distraction and lives shaped by deliberate attention. Stoics view the surrender of attention to triviality as a form of subtle self-harm. It is not violent or immediate, but gradual and cumulative. Over months and years, it shapes priorities, habits, and identity, often leaving individuals with a sense of regret, unactualized potential, and dissatisfaction. The ease of distraction masks its danger, making intentional vigilance essential. Without conscious effort, the mind drifts, and life drifts with it. Even pleasures that feel harmless entertainment, comfort, Social media can become instruments of limitation when consumed without moderation. Stoicism does not advocate asceticism or the elimination of joy. Rather, it promotes discernment, choosing activities that enhance virtue, wisdom, and purpose while limiting those that hijack attention and dilute meaningful engagement. Pleasure should serve life, not dominate it. Enjoyment should be selective, deliberate, and intentional rather than compulsive and reactive. The surrender of attention also erodes self-respect. Individuals recognize, often subconsciously, the gap between their aspirations and their daily habits. Each hour lost to triviality reinforces a subtle narrative of procrastination, weakness, or dependency. The mind, left unchecked, internalizes these patterns as identity, creating a feedback loop where distraction perpetuates dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction further fragments attention. Time lost to distraction is compounded by the fleeting nature of opportunity. Every creative project, meaningful conversation, or skill-building effort is bounded by the limits of human lifespan. Hours surrendered to passive consumption diminish the chance to cultivate impact, express insight, and engage fully in life's potential. Stoicism highlights this urgency by emphasizing that life is measured not by longevity alone, but by the depth, quality, and intentionality of lived experience. Distraction also undermines resilience. When individuals are accustomed to constant novelty and instant gratification, they struggle with delayed rewards, discomfort, and sustained effort. Challenges that require patience, focus, or prolonged dedication feel disproportionately difficult. Stoic training counteracts this tendency by cultivating tolerance for delay, discomfort, and concentrated effort, strengthening the mind and character against the erosion caused by habitual triviality. Freedom of attention is therefore both a practical and ethical responsibility. By consciously choosing engagement, individuals reclaim agency, align actions with purpose, and resist the subtle tyranny of distraction. Each moment becomes an opportunity for deliberate creation rather than passive consumption, for intentional learning rather than superficial absorption, for authentic connection rather than shallow engagement. The reclamation of focus transforms experience. Ordinary tasks become exercises in discipline, challenges become opportunities for growth, and relationships gain depth. Life, once dominated by reactive distraction, unfolds with clarity, coherence, and vitality. The individual becomes a deliberate agent rather than a passive consumer, shaping each day with intentionality rather than surrendering it to the ephemeral currents of entertainment and triviality. Excuses are perhaps the most deceptive companions a person can entertain. They often appear reasonable, even persuasive, like carefully dressed arguments constructed to justify inaction or mediocrity. Yet behind their polished exterior lies a subtle form of self-betrayal, a quiet theft of potential. Stoic philosophy, particularly the reflections of Marcus Aurelius, illuminates this truth. Excuses are seductive illusions, convincing the mind that delay, hesitation, and surrender are necessary, when in reality, only decisive action transforms life. Excuses are crafted from fear, doubt, and the instinct to avoid discomfort. They often take the shape of external circumstances. I do not have enough time. The situation is not favorable. Others will judge me. Or, I lack the necessary resources. On the surface, these reasons appear rational, but under scrutiny, they reveal themselves as voluntary chains. Every excuse is a choice, a subtle surrender of agency disguised as inevitability. By embracing them, individuals transfer responsibility for their lives to conditions, people, or imagined obstacles, relinquishing control over what matters most. One of the most dangerous aspects of excuses is their habitual nature. A single excuse, if repeated, becomes a pattern, and a pattern crystallizes into identity. The mind begins to normalize inaction, cultivating an internal narrative in which the self is incapable. The environment is perpetually restrictive, and achievement is reserved for others. Over time, this internalized story solidifies, and the person begins to experience a sense of chronic limitation, as though external circumstances alone are responsible for the trajectory of life. Stoicism teaches that this narrative is fundamentally false. Power over action resides within the individual. Excuses also distort perception of possibility. When the mind is preoccupied with why it cannot be done, it ceases to explore creative solutions. The imagination, which could be used to design strategies, envision alternatives, and anticipate opportunities, is instead occupied with rationalizations. Each excuse acts as a barrier to innovation and initiative. A mental blockade that convinces the individual that circumstance is the primary determinant of outcome, rather than resourcefulness, discipline, and perseverance. Furthermore, excuses are intimately tied to fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, and fear of discomfort all manifest as reasons to postpone action. When examined closely, these fears reveal that the perceived obstacle is rarely the true barrier. Instead, the barrier exists within the mind, in the stories one tells oneself about limitation and inadequacy. Stoicism teaches that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. The person who consistently chooses action over excuse builds resilience, confidence, and competence, qualities that excuses cannot cultivate. Excuses also erode integrity. Every time an individual claims inability rather than pursuing effort, a subtle fracture occurs between aspiration and action. Values, goals, and ideals remain unfulfilled promises, while the external world continues to move forward. Integrity, in the Stoic sense, is not merely moral uprightness, but alignment between thought, intention, and action. Excuses sever this alignment, creating dissonance between who one wishes to be and how one behaves. Over time, this dissonance breeds dissatisfaction, self-doubt, and quiet resentment toward oneself. Another dimension of excuses is their contagious nature. Individuals who habitually rationalize their limitations influence others, creating a culture of passivity. Teams, families, and communities may adopt the patterns of thought and behavior modeled by those around them. Excuses, therefore, do not remain private. They ripple outward, shaping environments that subtly reward avoidance rather than initiative, hesitation rather than courage, and justification rather than execution. The Stoic perspective emphasizes that the responsibility for breaking this cycle begins with the individual through consistent, principled action. Excuses also obscure the passage of time. People often justify delay with statements like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "when conditions improve, I'll act." These deferments create the illusion of infinite opportunity. Yet life progresses with relentless impartiality. Each day surrendered to inaction is irretrievably lost. Stoicism emphasizes the brevity of existence and the necessity of deliberate action in the present. Time is not replenishable, and waiting for perfect circumstances is a subtle surrender to inevitability rather than intelligent strategy. Excuses distort accountability. When outcomes are unsatisfactory, it is easy to attribute failure to external causes. Financial setbacks, professional stagnation, relational breakdowns all can be framed as the result of circumstance, other people, or bad luck. While external factors undeniably influence life, exclusive reliance on them as explanations denies the primary truth. Every individual controls their response to conditions. Acceptance of this responsibility is liberating, transforming perceived limitation into actionable insight and personal empowerment. Excuses also diminish courage over time. Each rationalization chosen over action strengthens the habit of avoidance. Courage is a muscle that must be exercised consistently. When avoided, It weakens, making future challenges feel increasingly daunting. Conversely, repeated decisions to act, despite obstacles, cultivate an inner fortitude that grows with each choice. The Stoic recognizes that personal power and moral strength are cultivated in moments of discomfort and challenge, not in the comfort of rationalized avoidance. Moreover, excuses often magnify minor obstacles into insurmountable barriers. A missing resource, a minor criticism, or a fleeting moment of doubt can be transformed into a justification for surrender. The mind interprets these small inconveniences as decisive, producing a sense of helplessness disproportionate to the actual difficulty. Stoicism teaches that perspective and reason are critical in evaluating the true scale of obstacles. What appears monumental to an untrained mind may be minor when measured against effort, creativity, and discipline. Excuses also interfere with clarity of purpose. A life filled with rationalizations obscures genuine priorities. Individuals may claim inability to pursue goals, yet this inaction is often selective. Energy is expended on trivial distractions while meaningful progress is postponed. By removing excuses, the mind becomes clear, focused, and aligned with authentic intention. Each action is chosen deliberately rather than being overshadowed by fear or justification. Importantly, Stoicism reframes the relationship with discomfort and difficulty. Many excuses are rooted in the desire to avoid short-term pain, struggle, or uncertainty. Yet these experiences are essential for growth. Each challenge overcome, each effort pursued in spite of fear, strengthens resilience, sharpens judgment, and expands capability. Avoiding difficulty through excuses is thus a subtle self-sabotage, exchanging fleeting comfort for long-term limitation. Excuses also impact self-perception. Individuals who repeatedly justify an action begin to internalize inadequacy. They tell themselves they are incapable, unlucky, or undeserving, and these narratives solidify into identity. Stoicism emphasizes separating character from circumstance. Failure is an event, not an essence. By confronting excuses and choosing action, individuals reconstruct self-perception, demonstrating competence, integrity, and agency in ways that excuses alone cannot. The elimination of excuses requires deliberate awareness and discipline. It begins with honest self-reflection, identifying rationalizations, understanding their origins, and evaluating their validity. Once recognized, each excuse must be challenged. Is this a true barrier, or am I surrendering to fear? Action is then chosen intentionally rather than deferred. Over time, this practice transforms habit, reinforcing a pattern of initiative over rationalization, courage over hesitation, and principle over convenience. Excuses also obscure learning. Avoiding effort and responsibility under the guise of justification denies opportunities for experimentation, adaptation, and skill development. Mistakes are essential teachers. Without action, these lessons remain inaccessible. Stoicism values knowledge gained through experience and reasoned reflection. By choosing action instead of excuse, individuals gain practical wisdom that is otherwise unobtainable through passive rationalization. Ultimately, excuses are a form of self-imposed limitation, convincing the mind that external circumstance is the primary determinant of life. Stoicism reframes this understanding. Power over one's life exists in decisions, effort, and response. Every excuse surrendered is an opportunity reclaimed. Every rationalization rejected is a step toward agency, mastery, and purpose. The deliberate choice to act transforms potential into reality, aligning thought, intention, and outcome in ways that excuses alone could never achieve. Procrastination is a silent thief, a subtle saboteur that quietly erodes potential, ambition, and opportunity. Unlike visible obstacles, it operates in the shadows of routine and habit, convincing the mind that delay is acceptable, that tomorrow is infinite, and that action can always wait. Stoic philosophy, crystallized in the reflections of Marcus Aurelius, exposes the illusory nature of this delay, insisting that time is fleeting, life is finite, and every postponement is a forfeiture of power, progress, and purpose. The mind, when untrained, rationalizes postponement with 1,000 subtle justifications. "I will begin later," it whispers, when conditions are perfect, when motivation arises, when obstacles disappear. Each whispered excuse feels benign, even prudent, but in truth, it is the seed of inertia. Procrastination convinces individuals that waiting is preparation, when in reality, it is avoidance masquerading as strategy. Over time, this avoidance calcifies into habit, creating a life that drifts rather than drives, that reacts rather than acts, and that quietly accumulates regrets instead of accomplishments. Time, the most precious resource, is particularly vulnerable to procrastination. Unlike money, which can be earned, or skills, which can be developed, lost time cannot be reclaimed. Every hour spent delaying action is irretrievably gone, and yet the mind continues to deceive, promising future windows that may never arrive. This illusion of abundant tomorrows is one of the most insidious traps of human perception. Stoicism teaches that life exists only in the present, and mastery of the present moment is the only path to genuine agency, accomplishment, and fulfillment. Procrastination often masquerades as prudence. People convince themselves that they are waiting for better preparation, more resources, or clearer guidance. Yet this endless waiting rarely produces the ideal conditions sought. Life is inherently uncertain, unpredictable, and imperfect, and perfect conditions rarely exist. The Stoic recognizes that the act of engaging with the imperfect present is itself the true preparation, the foundation upon which progress and mastery are built. Waiting for perfection is surrendering to illusion rather than seizing reality. This delay also weakens courage. Action, especially meaningful action, requires confronting discomfort, uncertainty, and risk. Procrastination postpones this confrontation, allowing fear to accumulate unchecked. Each delay strengthens hesitation, erodes confidence, and magnifies imagined obstacles. The mind begins to perceive difficulty as insurmountable because it has been rehearsing avoidance rather than cultivating competence. Stoicism emphasizes that courage grows through repeated engagement with challenge, and procrastination starves this essential muscle of the practice it requires. The subtlety of procrastination is further revealed in its ability to distort perception of time and consequence. A deferred task feels trivial in the immediate moment because its consequences appear distant. Yet the compounding effect of delay transforms minor postponements into cascading consequences over weeks, months, and years. Projects remain unfinished, skills unmastered, relationships neglected, and opportunities lost. The mind, deceived by the apparent harmlessness of delay, fails to account for the irreversible accumulation of postponed effort. Procrastination also diminishes clarity of thought and purpose. When the mind is occupied with the postponement of action, attention is diverted from meaningful reflection, planning, and engagement. Energy is consumed not by creation, but by rationalization, anxiety, and internal debate over when and how action might begin. This mental noise produces frustration and self-recrimination. Yet the cycle continues because delay feels safer than immediate engagement with uncertainty and responsibility. The illusion of time abundance fosters the habit of comparison. People often look at others who have acted decisively and feel inadequate, rationalizing inaction by overestimating the difficulty of catching up. This comparison fuels further delay, reinforcing the perception that the present moment is insufficient for meaningful progress. Stoicism teaches that focus on self-mastery and deliberate action in the present moment is the antidote to this paralysis. Progress is measured against one's own consistent effort, not the achievements of others, and the act of starting is itself transformative. Procrastination also undermines learning and growth. Each delayed action is a delayed lesson. Mistakes, failures, and challenges, essential teachers in the Stoic path, arrive only through engagement. By postponing action, the mind deprives itself of experience, insight, and the sharpening of skill. Knowledge remains theoretical, wisdom unrealized, and character underdeveloped. Stoicism emphasizes that life's most valuable lessons are embedded in active participation, and delay is a barrier that separates potential from realization. Moreover, procrastination distorts self-perception. A life habitually postponed cultivates a subtle narrative of inadequacy, weakness, or unworthiness. Individuals begin to identify with delay itself, constructing an identity around avoidance rather than capability. This internalized perception magnifies fear, increases hesitation, and strengthens the self-fulfilling prophecy of inaction. By confronting procrastination directly, individuals reclaim agency, reinforcing a self-image defined by courage, decisiveness, and consistent effort. Procrastination also interferes with emotional stability. The awareness of unfinished tasks, neglected responsibilities, and delayed goals produces a low-grade anxiety that permeates daily life. This emotional burden, often unspoken, saps energy, diminishes focus, and reduces resilience. The mind becomes a repository of postponed intentions, each deferred action weighing subtly on attention and mood. Stoicism teaches that peace arises not from external circumstance but from mastery of response, and decisive engagement dissolves the chronic tension created by delay. The act of beginning transforms both perception and circumstance. Starting, even imperfectly, produces momentum, clarity, and insight. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable in contemplation become manageable when approached through action. Each step forward reinforces confidence, develops skill, and converts abstract intention into tangible reality. Stoicism emphasizes that momentum itself is a form of power, and procrastination surrenders this power to illusion, while deliberate action reclaims it as a living force. Procrastination also subtly corrupts relationships. Commitments postponed, conversations delayed, and promises deferred create ripples that affect others. Trust, reliability, and social cohesion are undermined when delay becomes habitual. The Stoic perspective recognizes that responsibility extends beyond the self. Each action taken, each engagement honored, reinforces integrity and fosters harmonious interaction. Delay, therefore, is not merely a personal cost. It carries social consequences that accumulate alongside internal consequences. Even pleasure and comfort, when used as a justification for postponement, are distorted by procrastination. The mind convinces itself that delay is necessary for enjoyment, rest, or readiness. Yet this postponement often leads to a more profound deprivation, the deprivation of accomplishment, mastery, and purpose. Immediate gratification, when prioritized over meaningful action, reinforces habit rather than liberating the individual. Stoicism teaches that true satisfaction is earned through deliberate engagement, not deferred indefinitely in the pursuit of imagined readiness. Procrastination thrives in ambiguity. Tasks that are undefined, goals that are vague, or plans that lack clarity provide fertile ground for delay. The mind hesitates in the face of uncertainty, waiting for instructions that it alone must create. Stoicism emphasizes clarity of principle, purpose, and intention as the antidote. When the mind knows what is to be done and why, hesitation diminishes and action becomes inevitable. Purpose and clarity are shields against the subtle seduction of postponement. The habit of delay also dulls ambition. Long-term visions require sustained effort, planning, and action over years, sometimes decades. Procrastination reduces these visions to dreams, abstract concepts that never materialize. The mind, conditioned by habitual postponement, fears commitment and persistence. Stoicism teaches that ambition flourishes only through consistent, principled action, and that each day of delay is a day in which vision falters and potential erodes. Breaking free from procrastination requires awareness, courage, and deliberate habit. Each deferred action must be confronted, analyzed, and executed. Resistance to delay becomes a disciplined practice, a form of self-mastery in which the mind learns to act despite discomfort, uncertainty, or fear. Momentum builds with each choice to engage decisively, creating a feedback loop that strengthens competence, confidence, and resilience. Stoicism frames this practice not as punishment, but as cultivation of the mind and character, the deliberate shaping of a life defined by presence, effort, and fulfillment. Procrastination, when understood as a voluntary act of delay rather than an inevitable condition, becomes both an obstacle and an opportunity. Awareness of its mechanisms illuminates the path to freedom. Action, once chosen, dissolves the imagined weight of tasks, reduces anxiety, cultivates learning, strengthens courage, and reinforces integrity. Life, in its fleeting and precious nature, demands engagement now. Every moment of postponement is a lost opportunity. Every act of decisive movement is a reclamation of power, potential. Purpose is the silent engine of a life fully lived, a force that channels energy, intention, and action into coherence and meaning. Without it, existence drifts like a rudderless vessel, susceptible to the currents of circumstance, distraction, and whim. Stoic philosophy, as illuminated through the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, teaches that purpose is not a luxury or abstract ideal. It is the essential compass guiding every thought, choice, and action. To live without it is to surrender to entropy, to allow days to pass unremarked and potential to remain unrealized. Purpose begins with clarity of values. Every human being navigates life according to an internal framework, whether conscious or unconscious. These values shape perception, decisions, and priorities. Without conscious reflection, individuals adopt reactive patterns, allowing external forces, social expectation, cultural norms, fleeting desires to dictate behavior. Life without intentional values becomes a sequence of unexamined actions, a series of responses rather than deliberate choices. Stoicism emphasizes deliberate evaluation, understanding what is truly worth pursuing and letting that understanding shape every movement of the mind and body. Action aligned with purpose transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary leverage. Tasks that might otherwise feel mundane acquire weight, energy, and significance. A simple duty, when framed within the context of a larger mission, becomes an act of integrity, discipline, and contribution. Stoicism insists that life's meaning is inseparable from action. Ideals, principles, and knowledge gain vitality only when expressed through deliberate engagement. Without action, purpose remains an inert concept. With action, it becomes a living, evolving force that shapes experience and character. Purpose also fosters resilience in the face of adversity. Life, unpredictable and often cruel, will inevitably present obstacles, failures, and disappointments. A person without purpose is buffeted by circumstance, vulnerable to despair and distraction. One with purpose, however, perceives challenges as tests of character, opportunities for growth, and moments for practicing virtue. The difficulties of life are reframed not as punishments or random misfortune, but as integral elements in the pursuit of meaningful ends. Each struggle becomes an instrument sharpening patience, courage, and wisdom. The pursuit of purpose requires self-awareness and honesty. Many individuals confuse external markers of success, wealth, recognition, social status with internal fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that true purpose is not granted by accolades or possessions. It is cultivated from deliberate alignment of action with values. This distinction demands introspection, examining ambitions, motivations, and daily practices to ensure they serve the life one genuinely seeks to lead. Without this alignment, effort becomes fragmented and achievement feels hollow, like a beautiful vessel empty of water. Purpose also cultivates focus. Modern life, filled with distractions, demands constant attention to be fully alive and effective. Without purpose, attention splinters, energy dissipates, and the mind becomes reactive, responding to every stimulus without discernment. With purpose, attention becomes selective, prioritizing what advances core aims over what merely entertains or distracts. Stoic practice encourages intentional engagement. Each thought, word, and action is measured against the overarching mission, producing efficiency, clarity, and psychological harmony. A life of purpose intensifies presence. Individuals aligned with their mission inhabit the present moment fully, aware that each choice contributes to a larger pattern. Time, which can otherwise feel endless and diffuse, is perceived as precious and limited. This awareness transforms ordinary experiences. Conversations are richer, work is more meaningful, and challenges are approached with deliberate courage. The Stoic mindset teaches that living purposefully is the antidote to waste, distraction, and superficiality, turning each day into a canvas upon which meaningful action can be inscribed. Purpose also provides emotional stability. When external conditions fluctuate, successes fade, relationships shift, and unforeseen hardships arise, a grounded sense of purpose serves as an anchor. External events may disrupt comfort, provoke fear, or trigger desire, but an internally driven mission offers continuity. Emotional responses are no longer dictated entirely by circumstance. They are informed and modulated by alignment with long-term goals and principles. This creates a form of freedom. The individual acts with intention rather than reaction, cultivating serenity amid life's inevitable turbulence. Another dimension of purpose is its impact on relationships and social contribution. Individuals who act in alignment with meaningful ends often inspire, guide, and elevate others. Purpose creates coherence in communication, consistency in behavior, and trustworthiness in action. When lives are driven by transient whims or external validation, influence is erratic and hollow. When lives are guided by intentionality, every interaction, collaboration, and engagement carries weight, extending the impact of individual effort beyond personal boundaries and creating ripples of meaningful change in the community and environment. Purpose also reinforces self-discipline. The pursuit of a meaningful end demands consistent effort, sacrifice, and perseverance. Short-term impulses must often be subordinated to long-term goals. Comfort, distraction, and immediate gratification are evaluated against their alignment with the mission. This continuous calibration strengthens character. Resilience grows, judgment sharpens, and clarity emerges. Stoicism emphasizes that virtue is inseparable from action, and purpose provides the framework within which disciplined, ethical action becomes habitual rather than occasional. Without purpose, life risks fragmentation. Goals become scattered, energy is diffused, and the mind vacillates between competing impulses. Daily choices, from the trivial to the significant, lack coherence, producing dissatisfaction and restlessness. Purpose integrates these choices into a coherent narrative, producing a sense of direction, meaning, and accomplishment. Each decision is no longer isolated. Each act contributes to the overarching story of a life lived intentionally. Purpose transforms obstacles into instruments. Challenges, delays, criticism, and failure are no longer perceived as setbacks, but as essential components of meaningful engagement. Stoicism frames adversity as both teacher and test, and purpose provides the context in which learning, growth, and achievement become not only possible, but inevitable. Each difficulty encountered and overcome enriches understanding, refines character, and amplifies the significance of success. Without purpose, these same obstacles are endured passively. With purpose, they are harnessed actively. Furthermore, purpose cultivates a sense of urgency without anxiety. Awareness of the finite nature of life amplifies the value of action. Delays, hesitation, and indecision are recognized for what they are: missed opportunities to express capability, integrity, and vision. The Stoic approach balances this urgency with composure. Action is deliberate, focused, and principled rather than impulsive. The combination of urgency and thoughtful engagement produces momentum, growth, and sustained progress. Living purposefully also deepens satisfaction and fulfillment. Achievement is no longer measured solely by external validation, but by alignment with values and meaningful action. The mind derives pleasure not merely from rewards or recognition, but from consistent, intentional effort. The sense of contributing to something greater than transient desire, and the daily expression of capability and virtue. Each completed task, challenge overcome, and deliberate action reinforces the awareness that life is being lived fully, authentically, and courageously. Purpose, ultimately, is both compass and engine. It provides direction when the world is confusing, energy when effort feels exhausting, and meaning when life threatens to feel empty. It reconciles ambition with action, fear with courage, and imperfection with growth. Through conscious reflection, disciplined effort, and alignment with deeply held values, individuals transform potential into accomplishment, intention into reality, and ordinary existence into a coherent, vibrant journey. To embrace purpose is to reclaim mastery over one's life. It demands honesty, courage, and relentless engagement with the present moment. It requires rejecting distraction, postponement, and triviality, and instead directing energy toward goals that resonate with principle and vision. Life lived without purpose is reactive and fragmented. Life lived with purpose is intentional, coherent, and profoundly satisfying. Ultimately, purpose is the bridge between thought and action, potential and realization, desire and achievement. It transforms effort into significance, struggle into growth, and time into a canvas of accomplishment. It is the force that ignites ambition, guides decision, fortifies resilience, and cultivates meaning. A life aligned with purpose is a life that transcends mere survival. It is a life of intentional creation, enduring impact, and authentic fulfillment. The pursuit of purpose is not a one-time decision. It is a daily commitment to live fully, act decisively, and leave a legacy of meaning that endures beyond fleeting moments. A beacon of intentionality in the vast, unpredictable journey of existence.